Wiring. The biggest headache of every engine swap.
We are getting dangerously close to being able to turn over the K24 for the first time. But to do that, we need to get our wiring sorted. And I was planning to repin the Honda Accord harness to the Civic, you know, dash and things like that. And then I found out for $35 on eBay, they sold a body conversion K-Swap harness. Comes with a new OBD port to screw to the dash. It comes with everything to plug in to the body harness and to the ECU, so it kind of gets it all jumped together. Now, one thing this does not do is have the immobilizer wired in. So we stole the immobilizer off of the Accord, and we are going to have to splice this into the harness for the body, and then we are going to just zip tie or tape the key in to the immobilizer for the time being, tuck it up under the dash, and that will be what we run while we run a stock ECU. Another problem we had was the throttle cable to operate the K24 with the motor so much farther forward and the throttle body on the other side. Well, it's not really on the other side, but it's just in a very different orientation. The cable would basically have to run straight like a tight wire from the firewall. Online, I went and I bought a longer, supposedly correct length for a K-Swap. I didn't really do a lot of research. I just saw there was two sizes. I picked the long one that said K24 EK. It came in a Honda package, but it wasn't labeled as Honda genuine parts when I bought it, so I'm guessing this is a fake Honda package. It also seems super brightly printed, which normally the Honda stuff is kind of, they've got nothing to prove. They just put Honda on there, they throw a sticker on this thing. This thing seems super bright. So I'm guessing it's not actually a Honda part, but it's a throttle cable. Same technology for bicycle brakes and everything. Nothing too fancy. I guess that what we need to do is just get into it. I would love it if I could run this kind of along the fuel line or something and just have it pop out, or somehow where it's not going to be just a throttle cable coming right across the engine bay, at least jumping over the valve cover or something, so it looks not janky. Nobody likes a rigged up Honda. I know we're doing it on a budget, but we don't need to be questionable. Alright, so I guess we'll go to there, and it appears we have plenty for, come right out there under the fuel line. Could probably route it up, have it connect. I'm certain we can find something. Alright, I got the factory throttle cable out. One thing I see that it has that my new one does not is a seal for the firewall, so we'll have to make sure to move that on over. Wow, was that easy? This is probably next to impossible to film, but there's a throttle cable. It needs to kind of slide into that little retainer there on the pedal, and then it'll pull it out. So let me do that. All right, next we just got it running through here. I don't have it routed in any type of way, but I've got it hooked up on the throttle body, and it's hooked up inside on the pedal. So let's see if the throttle body actually opens. Doesn't open very far. Alright, we just moved the throttle cable up onto a higher mount on the bracket, so now let's hit the pedal. It's a big improvement. So now we got to figure out routing. Factory, they kind of routed it way up here through a bracket. I don't think I want to do that. I kind of like the idea of running it with the wiring harness, maybe. I don't know if you can be better off like here. I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but since the last video, in between, I just kind of built my AN line going up. I mounted the fuel pressure regulator. It has a gauge on it. It's kind of funny because now I have a gauge at the fuel filter and one at the pressure regulator, so I don't know if I'm going to do both or how I'm going to remedy that. Then the return line, I've just got slid over the metal return line right now. I'm going to just clamp that on probably, and then I need to get the line from the fuel filter slid on here onto the barb and clamped on good there. I ordered a whole bunch of clamps on Amazon, just waiting for those to come tomorrow. The shift cables I've got pretty much in. I mounted the shifter. Look at this. Big Honda guy. I mounted the shifter in. I didn't realize that's exactly what VTech Academy did until I was watching their video last night, but built a steel plate, broke a couple edges on it so it curled with the console, or the tunnel, not just, a flat plate with hard edges. And then I drilled that down, and then these are running through the same stock shifter mounts, so location's pretty good. To put my Mugen mount on, or ball on, I'm actually going to have to cut some of these threads down on the billet shifter, because I don't really want a bunch of threads sticking out under the ball. That looks janky. And but that is mounted in, and the cables are routed through. I am having a little bit of a problem with these cheap eBay cables. I'm probably going to have to dowel pin them because they seem to want to come apart. I already have to hammer them on an anvil to crimp them some farther on the engine side, so now I'm gonna have to do that on this. But that's the fun of eBay. Yay! Can you believe that 94% of my viewers still aren't subscribed? So if you aren't, this is a good time to do it, because I'm about to talk about a giveaway. Let's talk giveaway. We're gonna be giving away this Building on a Budget Honda shirt. It is gonna be made just for you. It's gonna be made just in your size, and I'm gonna ship it straight to you. All you have to do is drop a comment below, and it's free. If you're in the lower 48 of the United States, middle 48 of the United States, I don't know, if you're in the main 48 states of the United States, not Alaska or Hawaii, drop a comment below. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing right. Roast me. Tell me you can't park there. And you are in for the drawing. And we will do the next video, and then after that, we're gonna pick a winner. And that winner could be you. So I sat and looked at diagrams for the Accord, the 05 Accord, and I found the immobilizer wires to this red and blue wire, which is, I think they call it E27. It's the fourth slot in right there. Now, if you look at the eBay plug, the fourth slot in, there's nothing. So I'm going to have to probably just remove the pinned wire from this plug and put it into here. And then I already have it spliced into the plug for, wow, this is super organized, the plug for the immobilizer. And then I also need to just wire these a constant positive, or a switched positive to the ignition switch and a ground. And then that should be all, because this is just the signal wire to the ECU, and then switch power and ground, and that should handle our immobilizer. So I guess I just need to depin it from here, plug it into E27 on this plug, and we should be set in that regard. So originally when I bought the K-Swap harness for 70 bucks or whatever it was on eBay, it was the K-Swap tucked harness. I assumed that it would just plug in here and that would be easy peasy, and then this was, like an RSX plug or something like that, and it was different. But it turns out I was wrong. This is kind of to the body harness or something. So I was delighted when I found out I didn't have to repin all this, and that hopefully this $35 kit will just plug right in like so. And then we've got the one we just put the immobilizer plug on. All right, small victories. This green one matches the Civic harness, 3 for 3. And then the OBD2 part, which the factory one for the Civic's way over there, and this one's right here. So I guess I'm going to be moving my OBD2 to the passenger side. Not a huge deal, but that does leave us with one mystery. There's a whole plug that we're not using on the ECU. 1, 2, 3, 4. What that's for, I guess I'm gonna have to look at diagrams. I kept it off the Accord. Plugs in right there. More research. Hooray. Who doesn't love looking at wiring diagrams? Now this has got a plug with a relay on it. I'm not entirely sure what we're relaying. And then we have what appears to be 2 OBD2 ports, and I think that one goes back up into the engine bay and plugs in the engine bay. Let's go take a look. 2 large pins and then 7 small ones in there. Lo and behold, 2 large pins, 7 small ones. This one, I guess, is a mystery. But I'm hoping that all these conversion harnesses understand what you need and what you don't need. This obviously unplugged with the Civic engine harness. Might be for the power steering plug or something like that, but we're just gonna have to not worry about that yet. We'll plug this one in. Means we can leave it on its factory bracket, OEM, and then we will run the other harness out through the firewall and plug it into there. And then I got this cute little firewall harness bracket. And what we'll do is we'll go to the OEM, sorry for all the walking around. We'll go to the stock oval hole there. I'll make an aluminum plate, seal it off, and bolt it in on the studs that go through the firewall, right there and right there. And then we'll drill a hole and put that nice firewall bulkhead to run the 2 wiring harnesses through. And then up and over to there.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up.
I was trying to put the fuel line from the fuel filter over onto the barb of the fuel pressure regulator, but the hose was kind of small for the fittings I have. Then I remembered that the kit I got came with a few different setups to go to the AN fitting. So I'm going to see if I take this banjo out. If I've got a fitting that'll fit that, we can just run an AN line straight. So it'll be a nice, crimped setup, and it'll go right from the fuel filter into the regulator. None of the fittings I had matched the banjo that came out of it, so I tried a couple things, and then I found that I could just run the AN fitting right onto this rubber hose and crimp it. So hopefully that'll seal it, even though this isn't a stainless braided hose. It still goes on the inside and clamps it down pretty tight, so we will see if that leaks. It feels so wrong. Not a lot of jobs I get the hacksaw out for, but aluminum rod seemed like the right thing to do. Nice and even with the top of that brass. Now hopefully the Mugen slide right on there. Now that we have a lot of things hooked up on the motor, I just wanted to take a break and take care of something that I've been wanting to do in this car, basically since I got it. Cutscene. Now, the Civic has always been one of the bounciest vehicles I've ever owned.
In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they did it with expert timing. Oh, yeah.
And one of the major reasons for that is they're using stock shocks with an eBay style coilover shock setup, but this just crimps on a sleeve, and then you use another generally really stiff spring to be able to adjust the ride height of your car, but it uses a stock shock, and if you can tell, this one's been hammered. Now someone has done an aftermarket control arm in here, but the ball joint is completely clapped, and the bushings are not very tight either, so we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to put the max speed rods on it. Gold?
It's in.
Is it going down?
Yeah.
Did it bottom out?
Not yet. Okay.
If your project car needs suspension as bad as mine did, you can click the link below and use my coupon code, and you can get them for a surprisingly good price for a pretty nice product.
With that, we got new bushings, we got new upper ball joint, new spring, new shock, and we got a lot of adjustability. So all we got to do is get the other side in, get this thing on the ground, and I think we're going to save the rear for the next video. I mean, which one are you picking?
Suspension is one of the most underrated, but once it's installed, most appreciated modifications you can do to your car.
As you can see, the Civic is now sitting properly low. It only took me literally an hour, and I was helping with that just the tiniest bit. And it was super easy to put in. Everything goes in and out easy. Some of the nuts are different size than factory, but that's not a big deal. I knew the adjustment that I needed for my camber because of the other control arms that I pulled out, so I just set exactly the same. And it is out, it is on the ground, and hopefully the rear goes just as easy. In the previous video I mentioned doing something with the motor mounting, even though we got the motor in and bolted up. It's something that's going to make this car a little bit more 2000s show car. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lift it up to the K20 mounting location. The K24 I believe is about 3/4 of an inch taller, so they mount it lower, but since we have the car slammed, we want some oil pan clearance. So I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to cut a hole in the hood and put a window in the hood where you see the valve cover. If I need to, I will actually thermoform the window to the shape of the valve cover if it needs to bump up a little bit. If it just barely clears, we'll just do a window that's shaped to the radius or the curve of the hood. One way to find out.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was
And
a
there
little bit frightening.
she has lifted up. Definitely higher. Power steering pump is pretty high. It's making me consider looking at an electric power steering pump possibly, but I do want the car to be nice and drivable, so I don't really want to lose amenities that have to do with comfort. So I don't know. Drop a comment, let me know what you would do. But there it is. It's definitely up a little bit. We're going to have to notch out some webbing in the frame of the hood, and then probably make nice straight cuts here along the frame, and then just leave that whole right side or left side, I guess, and then notch it out nice, see where the hood lands, and then decide what we have to do for cutting a hole in the hood. Man, that thing just looks like big popped up like that, but we definitely gained ground clearance. Well, bumper's hanging a little bit, but definitely went up a little. Now we could at least run a soda can over. It's a little bit lower than the core support, but not crazy. Any bit's an improvement, especially when you're talking about an oil pan. For the fuel return line, I'm just gonna hose clamp it on there, and I figured by the time I use all the hose clamps I need for this thing, for coolant lines and such like that, I probably would spend like $50 just buying them from O'Reilly. I found them on Amazon, $19, 130 clamps, all different sizes. Not big enough for the radiator, but I have those from taking them off for the cars. But that'll cover all this, $19, and then I'll have them for a long time. They'll become useful for other projects. They're all 304 stainless steel, so you can't lose. So, I guess I just need to get it out on that turn line. And we're getting dangerously close to firing this thing up.
But they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up, they were chopping them down. It's an ancient Chinese art, and everybody knew their part. From a fainting to a slip and a kicking from the hip.
Now I was hoping to fire up the K24 in this video, but we didn't quite get there. I still have to mount the remote battery box I made, and we need to get the main power and ground wires ran. So we're going to start up the next video, crimping on wires. I'm going to riv nut this bracket right to the frame of the Honda, and we are going to get this thing cranked over and hopefully fired up. These max speeding rod coilovers even have a adjustment up there and a cute little red capped, so after you get it set it doesn't get changed. If you're like me and you're sick of your Civic riding too high and sick of your Civic riding terrible, you can also just get a set of these max speeding rods coilovers. Great price. I'll throw a coupon code in. Treat yourself to something nice that isn't gonna break the bank. I think the time has finally come that we get to say goodbye to our parts car Accord. Now, we've gotten everything out of it that I can possibly think that we would need. I hope, because this is one of those things that you get rid of it and then you just need one plug or one, bracket. But it's been a bit, and hopefully we got everything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. Yeah. But they fought with expert timing. There was Funky Bill Chin and Little Sammy Chung. He said, "Here comes the big boss."
Dude, no. You better stop. The ramp came out.